What's up, guys? Today we're looking at Last Epoch by 11th Hour Games. We'll start off with the story a little bit. So the main character, whoever you decide to be, attempts to recover basically the fragments of the Last Epoch. You gotta try to find these fragments. For whatever reason, you start to slowly find that out as you go. Your adventure leads you through time. Once you find these fragments of the Epoch, you get sent through time. You basically have to go on a mission to restore the Last Epoch then once you travel through time. Even though you have the fragments, you gotta find the other guy that has the other fragment. And then you need all these fragments so that you can go back to your time to destroy Raya. Raya, whatever the fuck the god's name is. And to save your people. So I don't want to go into too much detail with it. I don't want to spoil nothing. It's whatever. The story is pretty mid. It's not bad, but it's not great or anything like that. I didn't find myself super captivated by the story, but it was enough to at least keep me going and wanting to progress. I enjoyed the time travel aspect of the story. I know it's been pretty played out in modern media, but I'm just a sucker for time travel stuff. I like it a lot, especially if it's done right. This is just a fantasy fun way of traveling in time. There's no scientific stuff. Oh, this is how you do it and blah, blah, blah. There's none of that. I'm just traveling through time. Somehow the fragments allow you to do those things. Which is pretty cool because you can see these different locations that you're playing through in different time periods, which is pretty cool. But yeah, the story's enough to give you a purpose to keep playing. Definitely. Alright, moving on to gameplay. It's interesting here. The gameplay can go from feeling pretty tight and responsive at times to feeling janky and non-responsive at times. But overall, the gameplay is good and enjoyable. Kind of on the gameplay side, the first week of this game was heavily plagued with server issues. I couldn't get on the first day at all. The second day, I managed to play for like 6 hours, and then I couldn't log in. The third day, or the fourth day, it was really messed up. Some people were in, some people weren't. Some people could get in, and you could play like through the first 2 zones, and then you're just locked out at the door, like waiting in line to load. It was rough. As of right now, it seems like for the most part, the server issues they've worked them out. Like I said, for the most part. I think a lot of the jankiness of the gameplay, especially during the time that I played, was due to the server issues actually, not the game itself. Because I would find myself, you'd be playing and all of a sudden you start rubber banding around corners and you're like, motherfucker, you just keep going back to where you were. Or sometimes you'd get to the end of the zone and you'd have to wait, like I said, long periods of time to load through the door. You're just sitting there, just waiting to load for sometimes 10 minutes, and then you get the signal, failed to matchmake, failed to matchmake, failed to matchmake, and you just end up logging out. Like, well, whatever. Because you literally can't progress. So that was pretty rough. But like I said, as of right now, as far as that's concerned, I haven't had any issues going through doors. I've had a couple times where I've rubber banded, but it is what it is. But no, I have no problems going through doors now. It's pretty instantaneous. So I'm assuming that'll continue to get better as we go here. So let's hope for the best for that. The combat was pretty fun and rewarding for me. I felt my character getting more and more powerful as I leveled up, which is obviously what you'd want in a game where you level up. You want to feel yourself getting more powerful, not just the enemies constantly, perfectly scaling to you, so to where you are level 100 and you feel the same as you did level 1. Fucking dumb. Any game people out there that are making games, it's fucking stupid. Don't do it. You want to feel like a god by the time you're done leveling all the way up. You want to be blowing everything up. You want to have, in my case with my character, I made Palpatine, so I want to have unlimited power. I want to feel that shit. But you do feel that in this game, which is awesome. I love it. The skills that I was using, they were enjoyable to use. Although I wish I could use more skills or have more in my skill bar at a time, because I had a hard time trying to decide which ones I wanted to use. They make it tough because there's quite a bit of them. The character building, I think, is pretty strong in this game. In the beginning, you have to pick out of a couple pre-made classes, which is pretty customary in these types of games, whether it's Diablo or Path of Exile. You know, you start with a basic class, but then you make whatever build you want, especially in this game. With the skill trees, and then on top of the skill trees, your mastery skills. It allows you to take whatever build you're making to the next level. And basically, yeah, you can make it whatever you want, for the most part. But there is a downside to that. And the downside is, not all the builds will be viable for endgame content. But anybody who's played these games, you guys already know that. Me, I'm not usually an ARPG guy, so too much. I used to play Diablo 1 and 2 way back. You know, I'm an old fuck, so way back in the day. But I have never played Diablo 3, I've never played Diablo 4, and I played Path of Exile back in like 2014. So I haven't really played ARPGs at all. So this was really fun. But the downside to this is that your builds aren't going to all be viable at the end game. So you can play through the campaign and all that stuff, but when you start doing monoliths and you start pushing even into level 100 and going there, which I actually haven't even played the full end game content. I will make another video later once I can fully take this game in, because there's just so much to take in. Especially someone for me, like I said, I don't play these games normally, so a lot of this stuff is new. But yeah, so you do have to be careful with your builds, because not all of them will make it to the end game content. And nothing's worse than, you know, having a build, and especially if you really like the build and get into a spot and you spent all this time and you just realize you got to start over. It's useless pretty much. So I will say though, and I'm sure this goes for other ARPGs too, but the game can get repetitive or redundant after a while, depending on your tastes. It did for me a little bit. It's a good game to mindlessly grind while you're watching like a podcast, YouTube, a movie, I don't know, listening to an audiobook or something, which is good. I definitely got enjoyment out of that. I was doing all kinds of other shit while I was playing, and it was nice. It was relaxing to just have a go-to game, because sometimes you want to listen to music, you want to do other things, you don't want to just be fully engaged in that game, and this was perfect for that. I mean, this goes without saying, but the game doesn't seem to be infested with any woke agendas or anything, and that's great. That's great. We don't get too many of those these days, so that's awesome. It's just a fun game with its own little story to tell, and in that way the game was very refreshing compared to other modern games. I enjoyed the fact that I could just enjoy the ride and had to be like, oh, there's the woke oh, there's the fuck that. Like, I didn't have to deal with any of that, so it was very nice. And I'll say that this game it's probably the perfect in-between game of the casualness of Diablo and the technicality of Path of Exile. I feel like they really did a great job of finding that in-between, which is, you know, if you're casual, you can still play it. If you're casual, it's easy to get into, but it's also hard to master that technicality. If you are someone from the Path of Exile realm or something, they have all that for you there if you really want to go hard and get into the nitty-gritty of all of it. So I really like that everybody can pretty much enjoy this game, and other companies should take note of this, because this is how you do it. You can make a game for everyone, quote unquote, in a way. Maybe not everyone, but you can make a game. You don't have to just make it for casuals or just make it for super sweats. Like, you can make a game where all those people can coexist and play the game together. And I think that 11th Hour Games did a good job of that in this game. Alright, as for the graphics, they're okay for what it is. They're nothing special, but they do the job. I will say that it's not as gritty as Path of Exile. I loved the fact that Path of Exile is just brutal and gritty, man. Blood, guts, everything. I mean, the whole 9 yards. Can't speak for Diablo 3 or 4. Haven't played them. But it's not as gritty as Path of Exile, but it still has, you know, it still has your blood and guts. You know, you're killing monsters and stuff, so it still has all that. It's just a little bit more colorful, just because of the way the story and the scenery, everything is. The game, as of right now, it could have better optimization with that little jank going on. It's not all server related. There is some jank there. It could have better optimization, but just like with the servers, I would expect that to get better with time. 11th Hour Games has shown that they're willing to put the work in to fix the stuff, and they listen to their community, so I would think that'll get better. As far as the sound goes, the sound effects are on point in this game. All the sounds that you would want to hear when blowing things up or killing things are on point. It's exactly what you would expect. The soundtrack is also pretty good. For me, the soundtrack helped to set the tone of the game, and it was also pretty enjoyable. The music itself, the songs, none of it was too crazy. It's not too flashy or none of that stuff. The songs they're pretty simple jingles, but they start to get caught in your head really quick. At least for me, they did. I found myself walking around my house whistling these songs all over the place, driving my girlfriend insane. So yeah, the sound, I enjoyed the soundtrack, the music, the sound effects are all on point, so that's all there. As far as replayability, this game is definitely replayable many times over. The amount of different characters and builds at your disposal, it'll have you wanting to play through the game multiple times, just to experience the different spells and abilities and all this stuff. Because like I said, you only get a couple, like three or four abilities or whatever. 5 maybe, I don't know, I can't remember, and I might have been fucking it up because like I said, this isn't my my genre very much, so correct me if I'm wrong how many abilities you have, 3, 4, 5, something like that, but you want to try all these other abilities, man. I was itching even halfway through my Palpatine playthrough. I was picking up all this gear for, you know, rogues and all this other stuff. I'm like, oh man, I want to try some of these builds. I had some really good ideas with the gear that I had, and so I'm excited to make more builds and play through a couple more times. The different seasons offer a reason to replay the game, just for the simple fact that it offers a chance at new rare gear items that are season specific, and they have individual leaderboards for each season for everybody. And I don't even know exactly all the things that they have planned for the seasonal content, and like I said earlier, I don't even know exactly how much more like there's so much content in this game that I don't even know what all of the end game stuff is per se, because I'm still not fully there. And I have about, now granted, I've walked away from the game a few times. I have like 60 hours in the game or something like that. So probably about 50 good play hours, and I still don't have all, like, a lot of the end game content. I'm still working through like Monolith. So yeah, definitely has a lot of replay value here, especially for $35. I mean, you just can't beat that. Last Epoch for me is definitely a buy. The game offers way more than enough content, even in just one playthrough, to make it worth the $35 price point for sure. Not to mention all the content to play through and the replayability factor of the game, like I just mentioned. It's just crazy. $35 full price. So when that thing goes on sale for $20, I mean, you can't pass that up. And this is going to be around for a while. I forget what the exact numbers were, but they sold ridiculous amounts of copies of this game. I think it was like 1 million sales or something like that. I could be wrong. I don't know the fucking exact numbers, but it was a lot. It was a lot. So this is going to be around for quite a while, and it's a good bridge if you're waiting for Path of Exile later, and if you're disappointed with Diablo 4, this is like the perfect game to play in that time. So yeah, the game is a steal even at $35. If you see it on sale, definitely pick it up. 100% worth a buy. Well guys, that was my first impressions of Last Epoch. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Do you guys think this game is a must buy, or do you think it's absolute shit and needs to go away or something? Let me know. Alright guys, take it easy.